Not one, not two. It's the show where you told you're not you. It's nothing in the middle, nothing in the middle, nothing in the middle, nothing in the middle of nothing.
Hi, I'm Joey Lott, and welcome to the 9th episode of Nothing in the Middle. Today you can see that things have changed yet again. I'm framed by tiny sweaters and a dog leash. Someone didn't get the memo that this was my special recording area for Nothing in the Middle, so now it's the place to hang stuff. But it's multi-purpose, so, we'll just make do. So I've got a list of questions here, and we'll just go ahead and get started. The first question says, I wanted to know whether this thing you're pointing at only ever hits people. Sorry. It's a spontaneous realization, awakening, whatever. Or if for some reason, it's a gradual realization. There's more to it than that, but we'll just pause there for a second. So, this thing that you're pointing at only ever hits people as a spontaneous realization. Well, right. So first of all, it has to be spontaneous. Couldn't be otherwise. That's the nature of life, in case you haven't caught on to that. Now, it can seem to be mechanical, but the mechanical nature, or the seemingly mechanical nature of experience, is itself a spontaneous happening. So whatever is happening has to be spontaneous. So if there's a realization, then that's also spontaneous. But the fixation on a realization is kind of missing the point, because it's not important. No realization is important. So right now, I'll just invite you to let go of everything that you are striving for, just for one moment, just for a second. And if you don't know how to do that, which is understandable, nobody ever taught us how to do that. They taught us how to be really uptight, but not how to let go. So how do you let go? Well, physically let go. Just notice where that tension is. In your hands. Oftentimes we're kind of gripping in our hands and in our feet. And just let it go, just for 1 second. And if there's a impulse to seek for something else, something that kind of gets voiced as, yeah, but. Yeah, that's nice, but I need enlightenment. I need realization. I need awakening. Give me the goods. Relax. Notice that impulse itself is a tension felt in the body. It might be a subtle tension, but if you just notice, you'll see there's a tension there and that it can be softened. And so it kind of sinks back into itself. There's like ripples on the water. Just let it go. Just for a second. Now, what is it that needs to be realized? What is it that needs to be gotten? What's the problem right now? And you'll notice that the problem is always about the future. It's not about right now. Undoubtedly, unpleasant things can happen, right? We've all had experiences of that. But the problem is that we want to protect ourselves against those things in the future. I mean, when the unpleasant stuff is happening, either you can do something about it or you can't. If you can do something about it, you do. It doesn't require a whole lot of thinking about it. But right now, what's the problem? There isn't one. There couldn't be one. So the search for this thing that's supposed to happen, that I'm supposedly pointing to, is what keeps the suffering going. It's always that anxiety of, am I going to get it? Am I doing the right thing? Am I screwing it up? Am I on the right path, the wrong path? What am I doing wrong? Why am I not getting it? So then it's so the thing you're pointing at, and I know this is just words that are being used to communicate the question, but it does reveal the perspective, right? That there's something there that I'm pointing to. But if I'm pointing, what I'm pointing to is just this. It's not something else, so you can't overlook it. I'm just pointing, saying, stop overlooking it. Like, stop looking somewhere else. Stop believing that there's something else. Just notice this right now. Not a special this, not some hidden this, not anything. I'm not referring to something in particular. I'm not trying to help you to see something special. I'm actually trying, if I'm trying to do anything, I'm trying to help you to stop looking for something special. Stop looking for anything. The effort isn't necessary. So just notice right now, again, let go. Let go of everything. And I don't mean get rid of everything. You can't do that. That's that failed strategy. But I'm saying let go of all the effort to get away from or get rid of whatever's happening. To find something else. Just let that go. Just for 1 second. And then notice, is any effort needed for this to be happening? There's seeing, feeling, hearing. It doesn't require any effort. Nobody has to do that. It's nice. And that's already the case, always. You cannot escape that. It's impossible. You don't exist apart from that. I mean, this is all that's happening. It's not that you are outside of this and you are managing it, or that you have to figure it out, or that you have a relationship with it. You are this. You're not the observer, you're the observing. So then, so the question is it a spontaneous realization, or does it happen gradually? Spontaneous realization, gradual realization, that's the question. It's both and neither. So if you just let go right now for just a moment, what needs to be realized? If something needs to be realized, then the idea that is being believed is that this right now is obscuring something else, right? I mean, if you need to realize it, it's not real. It's hidden. It's only real when it's directly experienced, right? So that which is not yet realized must therefore be hidden or obscured. So what? We're trying to overlook what's here for something that's not. It doesn't exist, but we're insisting that it must, and our proof is, well, it must exist because it's not here. I mean, the logic is flawed. So there's a strong habit oftentimes that, well, I have to get that. I have to find it. I can't give up. Even for just one instant, I can't give up because I'm so close. I feel it. I can't stop. But just stop anyway. Just find out. For 1 second right now. Let go. And notice that there's nothing hidden. It's all obvious. Completely obvious. What is it that could not be obvious? And you'll see that what's not obvious is not real. And what's real is obvious. So, it says, I see that you provide tools and techniques to help people, and it seems as if practicing these things can help people arrive at what you're pointing at. Right. It seems that way, but more and more I'm tending to just suggest to people to relax physically, because that tends to help. It tends to just sort of reveal all of the bullshit for what it is. And I say that in, the most endearing sort of way. I mean, bullshit is fine. It's just that if it's believed to be something other than what it is, then it tends to produce anxiety. Like, oh, I need to figure it out. I'm almost there. I'm going to get it. It's just not true. You're not almost there. You're here. There's no there. It's just here. Just this. You're not going to get it because you're not separate from it to get it. And there is no it to get. There's no it that can be found or held or contained. It's boundless. Not in some sort of occult way, but just in the obvious way. Like right now, see if it's possible to find the actual boundaries of experience. Is it over there? Is it up there? Where are the boundaries? Can you find them? They don't exist. Just a fantasy. I'm liking this, by the way. I'm not even really giving direct answers to the questions. I'm just answering them the way that I want to, which I get to do because that's how it goes. So it says, at the same time, it seems as if it's a once you see it, you can't go back type of thing. There's no it to see, and there's no there to go to or back to get to either, and there's no one to do it. That's the great thing. No matter what, this is always it, and you're not separate from it. You can just notice this right now. So you're still looking for, the Big Bang. Pow. Which is, it's backward. Right. Metaphorically. Because you're hoping to escape. Tell the truth about it, right? I mean, that's what you want. You're hoping to escape. That's why we get into the game. That's why we do this. That's why we search for awakening or enlightenment or whatever. It's a pipe dream. We're hoping that we can escape from this, from reality. If I just try hard enough, then I'll pop right out of it, and then I'll be okay, then I'll be safe. Then I'll be untouchable. And people will have to bring me mangoes. Right? I don't know. That's what you do, right? You bring offerings to the guru, I'm just saying. Where are my mangoes? Please don't send mangoes. So the search is a search to escape. But there is no escape. So the discovery is, this is it. And it always has been and always will be. And there's no one who can escape from it. And that's a relief. That's good news. It would be bad news if you could escape. It really, really would be. It would be terrible news. Who wants to do that? Then you're just like floating around out there. I've escaped. Bring me mangoes. No, you don't want that, and it's not possible. So the good news is that this is already it. You can't earn it. You can't escape from it. You can't lose it or miss it. Can't be far from it. This is it. You are it. The bad news is that all the stuff that you were hoping to escape from can't be escaped. So all the discomfort, all the unpleasantness, not going to escape that. But then the good news is that you didn't really want to escape it anyway. I know it seems like it. I really do. I mean, I get that it seems like that, but it's like. So I'll use a very tired metaphor because it's just what comes to mind. It's like the ocean and the wave, right? So the wave, it's doing its wave thing. But if the wave was to escape from the ocean, think about how stressful that would be. I mean, waves are really not equipped to hover. They don't have wings. The nature of the wave is that it is the ocean. That is its nature. So your nature is that you are reality. You're not separate from it. And so you don't really actually want to escape from it. I know that seems weird because everything that we've learned for the most part is escape, protect, be elevated, loftier, more powerful, stronger, smarter, faster, better, which are all forms of escape. I mean, think about it, it's like, where do rich people live? They live in the penthouse. They're don't even want to be on Earth. The rich and powerful people, So the next question says, the advices you gave about going to the direct experience without just going to the thought to tell what is the experience is helping me a lot, more than most of the books I read. Yeah, good. I have a question that I want to clarify. You are always mentioning to let go. Actually, your message is about letting go. Yeah, that's true. If I have a message. It changes, though. But essentially, yeah. Could you please talk more? I mean, really more about letting go in your... Oh, right, in your 6th video. This is in the 9th video. I'm a little bit tardy with this one. I think this was a YouTube comment that I missed until now. So, right. So like I said, letting go is something that we've all probably, presumably, we've all heard that message from someone at some point, or we've read about it. And it makes sense, right? I mean, there's something about that. We're like, yeah, I should definitely let go. Then we get together with friends and we're like, yeah, I'm definitely going to be letting go. I need to be letting go. That's the ticket. Got to let go. But then we're all kind of scratching our heads. Well, how do I do that? How do I let go? So, first thing I'll say about that is that, as far as I'm concerned, anything that I can say is not going to be actually the truth. It's metaphor, and if you hear it and accept it as metaphor and play with it, then it may be valuable. If you take it to be the literal truth, then we're in trouble. Okay. So, the way that I have found to describe letting go, that I find is the most useful, most helpful, most direct, most, or let's say least confusing, is to let go physically. Most of us, I've noticed, tend to be very strongly conditioned to live through a sort of meta layer. We're thinking and analyzing and judging everything. So that's why this strong compulsion is often present, to try and understand. Because we think if we can understand, that's going to somehow be valuable. It won't. But at that level of thought, we'll say, it seems as though that would be helpful. Because that is sort of the end of the line in thought. Unfortunately, there is no end of the line, because as soon as you have an understanding, you realize you didn't, and there's more to pursue. But that's the mirage, right? The mirage is just out ahead. If I can get that understanding, then everything will be okay. But what I've noticed is that all of that pursuit of understanding, and that what it is that seems to motivate this living through this meta layer of thought and analysis, is the discomfort that we associate with a lot of the feelings. And by feelings, I mean literally the feelings, the sensations in the body. So we don't want to feel things. There's discomfort. There's tension, is really kind of at the heart of it. There's going to be tension somewhere. And that tension, it's sort of this fight or flight response. So it's an activation of the sympathetic nervous system. So it's often going to create a kind of a sense of urgency, like I've got to figure it out, I've got to do this, got to get out of here. It could appear as anxiety or anger, frustration, all these different types of things. Or like paralysis, that can also happen, like emotional paralysis or physical paralysis sometimes. So I find that it's very helpful to notice where there's physical tension just throughout the day, you know, but particularly when there's a sense of anxiety of any sort, or anger, frustration. Notice where that tension is. I mean, you'll find it's always going to be there, because those labels for the experience, anger, frustration, anxiety, irritability, those labels are just descriptions that we give, or they're labels that we give to the tension, to those particular manifestations of tension. So you find, where is the tension? Hands, feet, knees, forehead, shoulders, elbows, groin, abdomen, back, you know, nose. I mean, it could be anywhere, everywhere, right? And just let go. Physically let go. Release. Soften. You might be surprised to notice how much tension there is chronically. It's conditioning. I call it armoring because it's how we've learned to survive. It's dysfunctional. 99% of it is dysfunctional. At this point in our lives, for most of us. At the point at which we formed that conditioning, it may have been appropriate. You know, some of us have experienced some really terrible things, and maybe that tension, actually, that armoring really was protective at some earlier point in our lives. So we can kind of honor that, but at the same time recognize that now it's not helpful to get tense anytime there's silence, or anytime that there's apparently nothing to do, or anytime that somebody looks at you, or anytime that somebody uses that tone. Or anytime a man walks in the room, or anytime a woman walks in the room, or anytime somebody wears red, or on and on. Color somebody's skin, the language that they speak. Any of these things can produce these tensions. And because we're so accustomed to living through this meta layer, we overlook that it's just tension, it's just sensations in the body. They don't actually have any meaning. So we get fixated on, oh no, not that again. Oh, there's the anxiety. Oh, what do I do? And then we resist it. So it becomes this vicious cycle where we tense up more, armor more, trying to get rid of it, trying to suppress it, trying to offload it, which just reinforces the whole pattern. So to let go, in my view, is to physically relax chronic tension. And don't worry about doing it perfectly. There's no end to letting go. It's just, as far as I can tell, it goes on forever. And it's nice. It's quite nice to let go. But initially, at least, before there's, there does seem to be kind of a threshold. And when that threshold is crossed, there's sort of a sense that that letting go is nice. But before that, maybe it seems kind of scary, threatening. I'm not quite certain about this. It's like jumping off the high dive. I've used that metaphor before, right? When I was a kid, I went to the pool with my dad. I wanted to jump off the high dive. I'd go up, stand at the edge of the high dive. Oh no. I can't do. Whoa, that's scary. Jump off of here? You must be crazy. No, I gotta go back. There was a conditioning, let's say, not a perfect metaphor, but it kind of works. So let's say there's a conditioning in the nervous system says, whoa, don't do that, that's going to be dangerous. So we've become conditioned not, to try and avoid, futilely, by the way. I mean, we can't actually avoid, but to continue to invest a great deal of energy in attempts to avoid what's happening, like the feelings that are here. So that conditioning will, for a while, may continue to play out, and then, I don't know about letting go. That seems pretty dangerous. That seems to be kind of what happens. It's like, well, I kind of get it. Theoretically, letting go might be nice, but that's really dangerous. It's really scary. Because if I let go, then all of that armoring is let go, and all of that conditioning is there, not for it's not totally arbitrary. It is what our bodies have come to believe will keep us safe. Just happens to be wrong. So, as a kid, eventually I jumped off the diving board. And after doing it enough, no big deal. I know I'll be safe. So you let go often enough. Physically relax. Release the tension. Soften the armoring. And eventually there's that threshold gets crossed where, oh yeah, wow, letting go, that's nice. And then why ever not let go? And then eventually, there's never been anything other than letting go. See, that becomes clear. Because there's no one to hold on. It's a paradox, I don't know. That's like all of life. It's like that. You can, a lot of different kind of ways that you can look at it, and they're all true. And they're all limited. So they're only true in their own context. Outside of that, what can we say? Then we'll just sit here silently. So hopefully that was helpful. Next question. Okay. So this is somebody who's been posting on YouTube and posting quite a lot. I haven't copied most of his questions. It's just this one, and not because I found this one to be the most important necessarily, but it was the first one I copied, and after that I didn't. So the question is, please tell us about suicide if a localized body is in constant pain. It's okay, right? So I'll address this question, and then I have something else I want to say about this. So the bit about it's okay, right, is very revealing. Who needs permission? And who grants permission? Who can make things okay or not okay? Certainly not me. So I can't make anything okay. And I can't make it not okay. Now, if you're asking if something's okay, to me that suggests very strongly that there's something that's being avoided, or obviously not really, but that there's an attempt to avoid it by thinking about it instead of just meeting it directly and allowing it fully. So when you ask, and if you ask anything, is it all right? Is it okay? I would say just notice where that is felt. Prior to the thought about it, prior to the story, prior to the analysis, fundamentally there's a sensation. That sensation will be tension somewhere. And we could say that that tension kind of bubbles up as this compulsion to try and make something okay. Because if it's okay, then we feel that it's resolved somehow. And that tends to momentarily relieve that tension. The same tension will come back. And it will still, until it is welcomed, it will continue to be experienced as unacceptable and something separate from you that is invading or attacking, that needs to be suppressed or gotten rid of. So just feel that and notice where that tension is, the resistance, and soften that. Now, regarding suicide, it happens. And, you know, the act, you know, the death itself, you know, that, however we imagine that, I mean, I'm not sure that we need to imagine it, rather, it's just that there's a apparent transition in which, prior to that threshold, there's one appearance, and then subsequent to that there's another appearance. That in and of itself is inevitable in some ways, right? I mean, everything dies. So that's not really the troublesome bit. The troublesome bit is all the pain and the suffering that would prompt somebody to take their life. And that is, I think, for any sane human, that's sad. Why would we wish that upon anybody? We wouldn't. But the killing or not killing, the alive or dead part, I don't see that as the you know, I know that's the focus a lot, you know, like you know, suicide hotlines and things like that to encourage people not to kill themselves. But People don't just kill themselves just for the sake of, just like, yeah, today I think I'll kill myself. The killing of oneself in and of itself is not really the heart of it. It's the anguish and the sense that there's no possibility of anything other than endless pain and torment and suffering. I mean, that's heavy. And I could say more about it, but I'll leave it at that for now. But what I want to say about this particular questioner is that I've noticed an increasing trend that continues upon this sort of like moral theme. Is it right? Is it wrong? But the questions have grown increasingly violent. And when I say violent, I mean one of them talks about beating his girlfriend, and the sense of it is that, well, now it's clear that that's okay because nobody makes that choice. But the key is that it's okay. So again, it's this moral theme. And then there's one about, well, now I'll just rip people off, just take their money. I'll deceive them because it's okay, or at least it's not wrong. And I find that I find it a bit sad that the things that I share become twisted in that way. So just to be clear, that's definitely not what I'm saying. I certainly, I would love to see greater kindness and patience in the world, greater empathy, let's say, instead of morality. I'm not saying that should be the case. Don't have that delusion. I'm just saying, in case somebody's listening to this and they, if you listening to this or watching this are looking for an excuse to do unkind, violent things, my suggestion is just take a moment right now and notice where there's tension in the body. And maybe you don't want to feel that tension. Maybe you don't want to soften the tension because it lets down the armor. And maybe there were, as with most of us, horrible things that have happened in your life that are scary and that you don't really want to feel. Maybe part of that defense mechanism is anger. I understand that. I've felt that. Experienced a great deal of that. I've written about that. I used to literally have fantasies about beating people to a bloody pulp with a baseball bat because of the noises that they made. That's how intense that was. So I understand that rage and anger. But that's not how anybody really wants to live. And part of those fantasies, and sometimes the actuality of the expression of that violence and that anger, is, if you tell the truth, there's a hope that finally I'll be rid of it. I'll be purged of this demon. Because it haunts you, you're the one that suffers it. You're trying to get rid of it because it's so painful and unpleasant. But that indulgence never works. You can't get rid of it that way. It's like fire. You don't put out the fire by fanning the flames. Just all that does is spread it. And that's what's been happening. That's what's been going on. There's just been a spreading of the anger and the violence and the pain and the suffering and the hurt. So, just for a moment, have the courage right now to recognize that what's happening right now triggers a lot of that stuff, the defense mechanisms. But that in actuality, what's happening right now is not a threat. It's not actually dangerous. And just for once, truly have the courage to let down the guard, to let down the armor, to allow these feelings to be here, to allow the sensations to be here. To not need to be right, just for once. To really be vulnerable. To recognize that all of the conditioning is just conditioning, and most of it is dysfunctional. If you want something different, be willing to continue to soften. To see things as they are, instead of being clouded all the time by all of that conditioning. Okay, next question. It's always been so strange to me that I and many others simply cannot seem to do the things that we have a desire to do. Now that I see no I and I can just be in awareness, it's confusing why action seems to be in conflict with desire. My body just does what it does, and maybe my actions will always conflict with my desires. But that's confusing. Why? Is it because this is just supposed to be the story of me? Is it because it is? It is because it is. I get that. It is. And it's perfect. But why? I think the next part, there's more to this, but we'll just look at that first part. So see, it seems that the actions are in conflict with desire. But take a look and see if that's true. I mean, I think we can all relate to that because we have an idea that things should be otherwise. So If we tell the truth about desire, what is the desire? I mean, what is the actual substance of desire? How do we know that it's a desire? What is it that makes it a desire? What differentiates a desire from some other phenomenon? For example, I might have a thought about that I want pizza. But if I don't actually want pizza, it's just a thought. So what is it about? How do I know that it's truly a desire? It seems to me that there's a feeling. And what is it about that feeling that proves that it's a desire? So if it's possible, feel the desire now. Desire for a vacation in the Bahamas, or $1 million, or the perfect spouse who never does anything disagreeable. And then relax physically in the body. Let go of all the tension. Now, how do you know well, the question is there still a desire? Is it possible to feel a desire as we think of it normally, while being relaxed? So what I've been noticing when I have conversations with people is that sometimes people are concerned that if they really let go, then they won't ever do anything. Just sort of like lie around like a blob. Won't even be able to breathe. And I would say that that's never been my experience, and has never proven to be the case for anybody else who I've spoken with. So I often propose an experiment. I say, okay, so just let go, relax, and then see what happens. Something will happen. Life takes care of itself. What we call desire oftentimes is not a true desire. I would say a true desire is just what's happening. If you just let go and tune in is really quite pleasant. I mean, sometimes it's unpleasant, but even the unpleasantness can be quite pleasant in a strange way. When there's no conflict with what is happening. I mean, there couldn't be conflict, but there's no sense of there being a conflict. There's no resistance to what's happening. Then in a strange way, it's kind of blissful, you know. It's like, wow, this is happening. This is so perfect. You know, even really shitty stuff. Wow, this is really shitty, and this shitty stuff is happening. Cool. So, I have to refresh my memory, take a look at the question again. Right, so the conflict, I don't think there is actually a conflict. It's just thoughts. There's just a thought that says there's a conflict, but how do you know? How do you know that's true? There's just the thought. That's it. When we take them at face value, we say, oh, there's a conflict. Then it can seem like a problem. But if you actually investigate and you see, well, how do I know that there's actually a conflict? Other than the thought, there isn't one. Usually the thought follows from a feeling of discomfort and tension that we try futilely to avoid. Then there's the story about it. Oh, that feeling must be that there's a conflict. Then you're off and running. What am I going to do about it? Why? But actually, there's no conflict. Because what's happening is always, this is it. There's nothing for it to be in conflict with. There's nothing that it could be, nothing external to it. So then, one more comment about that, which is, just relax. It's so much nicer. It's like there's just what's happening, and then part of what's happening sometimes is this apparent commentary. And when that's taken at face value, then who knows, you know, it's like a roller coaster. Like sometimes it says, yeah, this is great, and other times it's like, oh my God, I'm so nauseous, get me out of here. This is so wrong. Why did I sign up for this? And then, you know, like, sometimes it's like, if I can't get off this ride, I might have to do something drastic. Really seriously, stop it and let me off. So, you know, you just gotta stop giving so much attention to that. And what I've noticed again is that the attention goes to that stuff because we think that we really want to avoid the sensations that are happening. But just find out if the sensations are really what you think they are, and if they're really so bad. Okay, so then it says, this has been my fear in letting go. The fear has been that I would just accept my weaknesses and then they would surely never change. Hey, yeah, that's sort of sort of what I was saying, right? But the truth is, I cannot seem to anyway. That's right. And, there's that cliche, which turns out to be fairly accurate, which is, what you resist persists. Tends to be true, the more you resist it, the more fixated you become on it. The more you let go, the less of a problem it becomes. So as long as you're fearful and resistant, then that will just be front and center. Oh my God, I can't let go, because if I let go, that would be really bad. That would be really scary. Totally out of control. Don't want to do that. But then you realize, I'm not in control anyway. Of course, because there's no I, only life, lifing, and I have nothing to do with it. I'd just say no. It's a slight misunderstanding. There's no life, lifing. There's just, let's say, lifing. And there's no I to be, what was the word used? There's no I to have something to do with it or not have something to do with it. So this may seem like semantics, but I think it's a significant distinction, because the wording here reveals that there's still a sense of something or someone that is separate, or that can or has escaped. I think that's kind of dangerous. As far as anything could be dangerous, but it's like a recipe for suffering. Because if you're separate from, or if you have a sense that you need to escape, then there's a need to maintain this boundary between you and life. Guess what? It's going to be a lot of anxiety involved in that. Because you have to maintain something that doesn't even exist in the first place. So, it says, I don't control it. It just happens with or without thoughts and desires. Yeah, right. Thoughts of, I need to eat healthy and now I'm really going to try. What do I do with this? Sit in awareness and flow because I've never been here to control any of that anyway? Just notice the desire and simply be awareness as the body continues to eat the unhealthy choices, and it's okay because it's happening, and it will either continue to happen or it won't. Kind of all true, but little nuances here and there that I think are worth pointing out. So there's still in the language here a sense of separation. There's still someone who could do something with it to begin with, who could sit in awareness and flow, who's not here to control any of it. Somebody who could just notice the desire and simply be awareness as the body, being something separate, continues to eat the unhealthy choices. So this separation is artificial. Just see, just take a look and see, can you actually find that separation? Is there someone who's aware? Is there someone separate from the body who's aware of the body? Is there someone who is the observer of all of it? So as long as that, that separation is just a thought, just an idea, when you really truly look, it's not there. As long as it's believed that there's a separation, that there's somebody who is, at the heart of it, the fear is that there's somebody who is going to suffer the consequences of whatever is happening. So that one has to do something about it in order to make the consequences something that might be tolerable. But there's no one who can do that. So that's very stressful to try and control everything, manage it. You know, what do I do? Do I sit in awareness and flow? I'd say notice where that tension is in the body and soften. There's something that's happening that you have, the conditioning is, shouldn't feel this, shouldn't experience this, get rid of it, bad, bad, bad. So the response is, okay, pull out my bag of strategies, you know, sit in awareness and flow, or just be the observer, or just keep going through the strategies and hoping one of them will seemingly work. So notice where that tension is and soften. And allow whatever's happening to happen. It's happening anyway. So hopefully that was helpful. Next question. By shifting the attention to the physical sensation, there will be a letting go of thoughts. My question is, can anything happen without thoughts? If I let go of all thoughts all day long, actions can still happen. Are thoughts important or not? No. I mean, no more or less important than anything else that happens. So thoughts happen. I was talking with somebody today, and I suggested that thoughts are really just there's, let's say, a continuum of physical phenomena, right? So there's, wiggling your finger, and there's thought. Essentially the same thing, just something happening. We just have this mistaken idea that thought is in a separate, special category and that it does something. But let's just, if you really take a look at it, you'll see that at best, thought is a concurrent aspect of whatever else is happening at that moment. So it's like, flip sides of a coin. Can't have one without the other. So in the same way, when thought happens, that is just an aspect of the present physical phenomena that are occurring right now. But it doesn't have some special purpose, meaning, significance, or anything like that. And yeah, as you see, when so the thoughts can happen. That's fine. Like, you're not doing them. You can't get rid of them. You can't stop them. But it is possible to just relax and not grasp onto the thoughts and they sort of fixate on them. And so when there's a relaxing and the fixation is relaxed, thoughts may still occur or not. And other action, other phenomena may occur or not. But that's always the case. It's just happening. Next question. I struggle with the idea of accepting what is because much of what is not acceptable. For example, terrorism, war, cruelty, abuse. If you have some ideas on that, whether to me directly or in your work elsewhere, I'd love to have them. Right. So there's a lot of very unpleasant stuff that happens, and we have opinions and I don't I'm not a advocate of the use of violence when seemingly other alternatives exist. I mean, there's some violence that seems to be inherent in the whole thing. There are Jain monks who ritually, and it has just become a ritual, sweep the path in front of them when they walk so that they won't step on any insects. They wear masks so they won't breathe in any insects. And, they have elaborate restrictions on what they can eat so that they don't kill anything, supposedly. For example, I think they don't eat meat, don't eat roots. They eat fruit. Dairy, maybe. So, they take it to an extreme, and yet their life necessitates violence against others. The others die. I'm sure that tiny microscopic organisms end up in Jain monks' eyes and are slaughtered by the millions. Or, their immune systems attack and kill countless viruses and bacteria. So there's a certain kind of violence that we can't really escape. Those of us who don't wear masks, we're breathing in these little organisms and killing them. It's a slaughter of the innocents. So on the one hand, there's that. On the other hand, do I have any interest in murdering other people because they don't agree with me on religious terms, or because they happen to inconveniently live where there's something that I want? No, I think that's horrible. There's a lot of really terrible things that take place, and I think it's very appropriate to have opinions about that and to take action based on those opinions. If you're passionate about it, why not? But I don't see that has any there's any conflict with letting go. Letting go can always happen. Letting go is always happening. That's all that's happening. There's just always letting go. There's this. And there's no one separate from this to oppose it or be in conflict with it. There's no one who can actually resist it. So when I talk about resistance, it's a metaphor or a pointer. It's not the reality. There's no way to have resistance. There's no separation whatsoever. Even the insects that I talked about who were slaughtered by the millions. Just a concept. So there are many apparent levels or perspectives, and like I've said, they're all true within their own context and appropriate in their own context. It's appropriate to defend yourself physically if somebody's attacking. Why not? On the other hand, you could argue that it's appropriate not to defend yourself. It's fine too. But no matter what, if there's a sense that this shouldn't be happening, even though there's no one to resist what's happening, that belief, the attachment to that belief, the indulgence of that vicious cycle of tension, makes it seem as though there's someone separate. It produces, or it, concurrent with that part of it, is a certain phenomena that get interpreted as proof of the one who is separate and capable of resisting. So letting go, I can't possibly change anything. We're not letting go of, to get rid of. We're just letting go to stop deceiving ourselves in painful ways. It's just to let go of what never was in the first place. And then everything that truly is, if it's real, it remains. Because it's real. How do I let go? Well, I've gone too far. How do I let go and stop seeking? What does that look like? I think I responded to a very similar question earlier. So, I'll leave it at that. My version of letting go is giving up and going back to watching TV and smoking cigarettes. Also, I seem to be stuck in a state of dispassion. Initially, it was very liberating and exciting to realize that ultimately nothing matters or means anything. But now I just seem to be bored or disinterested in most things. Right. Mm-hmm. So the first part, the letting go, is giving up and going back to watching TV and smoking cigarettes. Nope. That's just another strategy to attempt unsuccessfully to avoid what's happening. So there's I mean, not that watching TV and smoking cigarettes is inherently problematic, or that it's ever problematic, but in this particular context, if this is giving up and going back, definitely gives the sense that watching TV and smoking cigarettes is not obvious to this person, obviously an expression of like open, spontaneous joy. So letting go is not a resignation. So letting go even of the sense that there's anybody who is separate to something else, who could surrender or resign. Just a continual letting go in the body physically. It's different. And then regarding the dispassion, yeah, I've written about this, and when there, so I think, I experienced this, and I think that this is a fairly common thing. So there's this initial sense of, wow, it's quite blissful in a way to experience that dispassion, but then the dispassion subtly becomes a new identity. So it's like the dispassion is mistaken for freedom. And so we can try and defend and defend dispassion. So I want to remain dispassionate, no matter what is happening. So that identification then becomes this new prison. And you'll notice it becomes this tension, an attempt to try and keep things out. So, same process, it's always the same, let go. And then find out. Because there's no end of the road. There's nowhere to land. This is not a position. It's not like, okay, you come here and we'll all defend our new position. Team Dispassion. It's alive. And it's endless. There's nothing to grasp. So if you find that you have a position, let go. It's not a position. A position is static. There's a deadness to that. Letting go is endless aliveness. You can't know anything about it. You can't, there's no way, you can't predict. Totally. That's why I say it's insecure, complete insecurity. There's no possibility of knowing, I don't have any sense that when I wake up tomorrow, well, first of all, that I will wake up tomorrow, and if I wake up tomorrow, that I have any way of knowing what that experience will be like. Or what the experience 5 seconds from now will be like, but I mean, part of the insecurity is, it's joyful because there's the discovery that the only possibility is absolute, complete immersion as this. There's nothing outside of it. It just starts to be seen that any idea about what should be, what will be, is just a fantasy. Who cares? And really, I mean, why could I possibly have any interest in what will or should be when there's this? This is real. This is alive. This is all that is. There's nothing that can possibly compete, because there's nothing else that can be believed in. Okay. Next question. What I want is to perceive the fullness of what I am in each moment. Yes. Your wish has been granted. Already happening. Bad news is, it's this. It's always this is what so you say the implication is that you think there's something other than this. Nope. This is it. This is the fullness of what you are. Not something else. Not what you think this should be. Not what you think I mean. Not some special thing that is still hidden from you. Nope, just this. And when that's finally allowed, such a relief. Awesome. Just this. This is the fullness that I am. No matter what. Could be really shitty. Still, ain't nothing else. It's delightful. Next question. What is confidence? With letting go, surrendering, and dropping defenses against the unknown, it seems I am losing any sense of confidence. In my work environment, this is not helping me get by at all right now. Yeah, what is confidence? So confidence, as we, as is popularly conceived of, is bullshit. Not even in a, not even in a nice way. It's just, I mean, it's nice, but it's just stupid. It's like, when I was a kid, I went somewhere with my grandmother, and there was it must have been at the mall or something, and there was a life-size cardboard cutout of Ronald Reagan wearing a suit, very presidential. And so we got our photo taken with the life-size cardboard cutout of Ronald Reagan, which is, all very clever because it almost kind of, if you don't look too closely, looks like, whoa, you got your picture taken with the president. Cool. But it's fake. That wasn't Ronald Reagan. I'm not sure it would have been any better if it would have been the real thing. But all the same, just a cardboard cutout. And our confidence is very much like a cardboard cutout. We get this life-size image, dress it up all nicely, and try to convince others, hey, check it out. Pretty cool, huh? Looks smart, handsome, funny, great with the ladies. And it's a total fraud. But you can go to courses and spend a lot of money and read a lot of books and get, life coaches who will help you to dress up this image. You can invest into the image. Oh boy, I feel good about myself. Looking good today. But the trouble is that at some point the image doesn't match with what's happening. It's like, just doesn't work out. You've been dumped and you lost your job, and you got bird shit on your hair, and there's no way that you can really honestly believe in that image any longer. So then it's like, oh my God, I'm such a loser. Self-confidence shattered. So then we scurry trying to, build it back up again. Hey, clean it off, put on a new pair of clothes, put some new degrees in its hands, and, get some more money, stick it in the wallet. Porsche keys in hand. It's like, wow, okay, good. I like that image now. Feeling good now. Still just an image. So yeah, so what can happen, and I responded to this person saying pretty much this, it's like, you start to see through the illusion. You start to see that you're not the image. So then that positive so-called image that you've invested so much into, it starts starts to kind of look disheveled. It's like, it's just an image. It gets transparent. But then, if you haven't really completely seen through the whole thing, then it's like, oh no, you can still believe in this negative image of, oh, I'm a loser, I got bird shit on my hair, and the repo man took my keys, somebody kicked me in the groin, so if you still in the habit of just being fixated on the images, or even just the absence of the images for a while can, leave you like, where's the images? I need my images. So you just keep letting go. And then it's like, who needs images? Why? It's like, in a way, those images were a way of defending ourselves, because we could, in a strange way, even though we would identify with the image, we'd also be able to dissociate. There's a distance. So if somebody attacks the image, just the image, not me. But there's that anxiety all the time of, well, they're going to find out. They're going to find out that I'm here, behind the scenes. They're going to get to the real me. They'll hurt me. They'll take the stuff that's really important to the real me. And they'll find out that I'm not really as cool as the image. So there's always that anxiety, but then when the whole thing is seen through, okay, there's conditioning that happens. So part of that conditioning might be somebody says something, and then there's a lump in the throat, or tightness in the abdomen, or feeling of nausea, or whatever. That's the conditioning. That's the conditioned response of, oh my God, they don't love me, they don't accept me. But that's just seen as conditioning, and it's allowed. It's totally fine. It's welcomed. And when it's fully allowed, then it just does its thing. There's no longer any resistance to it. It's not suppressed. There's no attempt to distance from it or observe it or anything. All allowed. But with this softened, relaxed posture. Nothing to resist that conditioning, so then it just sort of does its thing. And it's fine. And who needs confidence? Totally overrated. Because that confidence, like we've seen it comes and goes. But spontaneous happening, always the case. All right. I much liked your books and the direct experience as a way of living. It is simple and straightforward. My question is that during the sleep or deep meditation, there is nothing, even not the awareness of this direct experience. So there's a little bit more, but we'll look at that. No, not true. And I think I responded to this one just saying pretty much this. There's know that you take a look right now and just see, can you find someone who is aware? Can you find awareness? Is there awareness or someone who is aware that's separate from the experience? Is the experience separate from the so-called objects of experience? In reality, there's no separation. So we could just say there's just experiencing. That's the totality. This is experiencing. Not someone experiencing. The nature of this is experiencing. So the idea that there's no awareness of direct experience, not really true. All experience is direct experience, nothing else. All direct experience is just experiencing. There's no one who's doing it. There's no separation. So that's my response to that part. Says, my understanding is that direct experience is a presence, awareness, where everything arises and falls in it. Like I said, I mean, if you take a look right now, you'll notice that there's nothing rising and falling in anything else. There's just what's happening. There's no one separate from that. And that's not happening in something. So these are all just sort of mental, conceptual hoops that we like to jump through. Like, oh, this must be happening in awareness. Nope. Experiencing, awareness, same thing. Self, awareness, experiencing, all same thing. Just this. And then it says, where is awareness during sleep? Yeah, so if it doesn't exist during sleep, it doesn't ever exist. If it ever, then it's a pretty good, in fact, it never exists, right? You can never find it. You can never find awareness. So if you can't actually find something, which, by the way, you can't find anything, then you know that the thing, as you imagine it, doesn't exist. So you can give it up. Now you're free. Okay. 2 more questions. I would also appreciate you to provide some comments or hints on how do you remain in the direct experience or connect yourself to the direct experience during the daily life. There's no one to connect to anything else. There's no one separate from direct experience. There's only this, just as it is. No one who's observing it. No one who's interacting with it. You can test this out for yourself right now and just see if it's possible to separate from this. Or look at it another way. Is there actually somebody who exists independent of experience? Have you ever had a sense of yourself apart when there wasn't experience taking place? If there's a sense of yourself, guess what? That's experience. So it's all just what's happening. And so there's no need to connect or remain, because that's all that's happening. With that said, it's easy due to the conditioning to overlook that. So my suggestion would be, whenever you notice that there's seems to be a problem of any kind, like anxiety, frustration, irritability, whatever, any of these sorts of things, if it seems like a problem, then soften. And you'll see that the story about the problem, pretty flimsy, let's say, very insubstantial, seems like it's important when we're in that sort of fight or flight mode, but when we soften, we realize, boy, that was a stupid idea. There's no problem. Or you can just ask yourself, what is the problem right now? Really. Not the idea about the problem, but the actuality of the problem. Can you find it? Nope. Okay, last question. Have you any ideas how to stop dropping asleep when meditating? I do it most of the time. It doesn't matter when or what time during the day. And not just for 10 minutes either. Very frustrating sometimes, even during deep relaxation. Same thing. Right. I used to sleep a lot in my meditations. In fact, I used to joke. I learned TM from the same teacher with a number of other people, and I was friends with some of them. And there's one guy, I used to joke to him. I would say that meditation was just my sitting up nap. Because I could never tell if I had fallen asleep or not, except for sometimes I would snore and I'd wake myself up and then I'd realize I'd been sleeping, caught red-handed. Of course, other times it was like, really delightful experiences. So then, of course, I keep doing it, like compulsively, thinking, oh, I'm almost there, I'm going to get it. I was going to get it. I was sure I was going to get it. I didn't know what it was. I just knew that it was something else. Anyway, yeah, sleeping is quite nice, especially if you're tired. And if you fall asleep, it probably means you need the sleep. Now, you could have narcolepsy, but probably not, unless that happens just like while you're eating dinner as well, or driving, in which case don't drive. It's dangerous. So if it's specific only to when you are relaxing, like in meditation or other types of relaxation, probably because you're tired. Most people are. I find very few people are very well rested, so wouldn't surprise me at all if you were just tired. But anyway, what's the problem? It's just as useful as meditation, really. See what it is that you think you're going to get from the meditation. Now, I understand the anxiety of not meditating. I did the TM thing for a while, a number of years, and very, very religiously, and to an extreme. And then I got into the whole non-duality thing, and I got the idea, well, I shouldn't meditate. Meditating is not is bad. That was the idea that I got. So I thought, well, I need to stop meditating. But I felt very anxious about not meditating. So I kept meditating, even though I felt kind of guilty about it. I felt shameful about it, like I'm into non-duality now and I'm meditating. That's like, don't tell people. And then at some point I stopped meditating in the TM way, but then I picked up, I sort of swapped out one thing for another. So then I subscribed. At the time, Gangaji had this subscription thing. You could subscribe and get like 2 CDs a month or 4 CDs a month or something like that. So I signed up for the subscription, and then I would listen to the CDs like every night, sitting with my eyes closed. Very similar to meditation, by the way. But it's all completely nothing to do with anything. I mean, like you might as well be doing anything, because it's not going to bring you any closer to this. There's nothing to get closer to. So it's worth taking a look at, why am I doing this thing? Now, if it's just for the pleasure of it, which, like that happens to me sometimes. It's just like, wow. Just sit here and kind of soak in the bliss of the moment. Then great. And if it's for compulsive reasons, that's great too, but kind of unpleasant for you. So I would say, instead of setting aside some special time to do a special thing in order to get some special outcome where you arrive at a special place and you become very special, start just telling the truth all the time. Like, okay, there's some discomfort, there's a compulsion to try and escape it, but there's no possibility of escape. Let go. I want to be someone special, I need to meditate, I'm uncomfortable, I've got to do something so I can escape from all of this. I can't escape. Let go. But if I don't meditate, then I'm not going to become enlightened, and then nobody's going to bring me mangoes. Let go. So much nicer from somebody who used to be a compulsive meditator, I'm telling you. So much nicer. Not to like be anxious about, like I can't go do things right now because I gotta meditate, and I'm not sure that I meditated well enough, so I gotta meditate more. Gotta do more meditation today because my meditation just wasn't good. I think I slept through it. I'm not sure, but just in case, like I didn't really feel like I became more enlightened. So I got to do more, try harder. This time I'm going to get it right. It's very stressful, ironically counterproductive, even from the framework in which most meditation is taught, right? I mean, like a lot, even like most meditation, the context, even in the spiritual aspiration thing, usually is relieving stress. So if you get stressed about it and then the meditation becomes stressful, or if you stress that you didn't do it right because you were sleeping, let it go. And don't trade it in for something else. Just start telling the truth. Notice where that resistance and the tension is, and soften. What's wrong with this right now? What's the problem right now? Why do you need to meditate? If you need to meditate, the implication is need something to be different. There you go. Another, 2 hours? I'll see you next time. And if you have questions for the next episode, then you can send them to me at joeylott@gmail.com. Take care.